We're outside the Western Cape High Court where day one of Shri and Dewani's trial is underway. I'm joined now by Roy McKenzie, who's News 24's reporter. He's been in court following the proceedings. Thanks, Roy. Now, the day kicked off with a huge media scrum, as you called it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first day of any trial like this, there's a lot of interest. So there were a lot of people here. And also, I think a lot of the journalists, especially the foreign ones, didn't really know the procedures and where to go and what to do. So there was a lot of queuing and a lot of jostling and pushing and shoving and all of that. The other thing is that cameras are not allowed in court during proceedings. So what they allowed was camera people to come into court beforehand. Dewani was in the dock, and so they could take their video and their stills footage of him, and then they had to leave before the rest of the journalists could come in and proceedings could get underway. Yeah.
Now, the day started off with the defense for Dewani, is that correct? Reading out his statement, or did it go a bit differently?
Basically his defense advocate, Francois van Zyl, read out as a very lengthy statement explaining exactly what happened from his side. And very cleverly what they did is they pretty much answered all the state's probable angles right up front. He came out right up front saying that he is bisexual and he has had sexual relationships with women and men. He spoke at length. It wasn't Dewani, this was his defense advocate reading this out. He spoke at length about their meeting, their courtship, the fact that they sometimes argued, that she wanted to break off their engagement. So he went probably to all the angles that the state is going to use against him, and he answered them up front. He also then went into a very lengthy explanation of how he met Zola Tonga, the taxi driver, how they negotiated taking tours, how he went to withdraw money. All of this, from his side was to organize a tour of Cape Town, a helicopter tour, all of that. So he explained all that in great detail.
Now, the state's called its first witness. Will you tell us who this is and what they're speaking about?
Yeah, this is Dr. Jeanette Foster, and she is a pathologist. So she went to the scene where Annie's body was found, and she later did the post-mortem. So she is going into very great detail about the wounds she had, how Annie died, and all the sort of rather upsetting details.
Now, this is understandably traumatic for both Annie's family and even Shrian's family. How are they holding up in court?
It's been interesting to watch. At the beginning of the state's case, there was a video of the crime scene shown, and it was obviously a police person taking scenes of. Taking footage of the scene and then closing in on the car that she was found in. And somebody, interesting to note, with rubber gloves and very much not contaminating the scene, opened the door, and there was quite a shock in court because you actually could see her body lying in there. And it was quite gripping to see, and there was complete silence. Everybody was just utterly shocked, I think, because there she was. You could see blood. You couldn't see too much gory details, but her hair was sort of blowing in the wind, and you could see she was made up. You could see the henna on her legs. You could see she was in an evening cocktail dress. It was quite harrowing. Interestingly enough, her parents were not in court at that time. They obviously knew that something upsetting was going to happen, so they were not present.
That's Roy McKenzie for News 24. Stay tuned to News 24 Live. We're going to be updating you on this story.